Hi, I'm Dustin Abbott, and I could hardly get through my recent Sigma 24-70mm f2.8 art lens without seemingly everyone asking me, when are you going to review the new Tamron 24-70 f2.8 VC G2 lens? Of course, I had originally hoped to get those lenses at the same time, and it looked like their release dates were going to line up. But then the Tamron here, it got delayed a bit in a Canon mount, and for whatever reason the Nikon mount hit the market, but the Canon mount was delayed by several weeks. But fortunately, the people at Tamron USA have been kind enough to get me a Canon mount copy as soon as it was possibly available, so thanks to them. And so as a result, I can finally start to give you a look at this new lens from Tamron, the second generation of what was the first of the stabilized 24-70mm f2.8 zooms. So we're going to start by jumping in and taking a closer look at the build and the design and talk a little bit about what has changed as a part of the process. Okay, we'll take a look first at the new Tamron 24-70mm f2.8 DI VC USD G2 lens, and this is mounted on a 5D Mark IV body here. So as you can see in this kind of an application, with a full frame body like this, it's a nice balance here. It's not a light lens. It comes in at basically right at 2 pounds or 904.3 grams, and so it has put on some weight since the G1 or the first generation lens, which has been the trend thus far with the G2 lenses, and that is due, however, to them going to a metal body, a more complex weather sealing, and so as a result, yes, there's a little bit more weight, but there's also a nicer end product that's more durable and more functional, and so it is somewhat of a good trade-off there. And of course, this lens, while it's heavier than the Canon version, I just reviewed the new Sigma 24-70 Art OS lens, and it definitely is heftier than this lens by a good 150 grams, and so thus it is, it definitely feels heavier than what this does. So if you're using it on a light body, a small camera body, it's going to feel a bit front heavy, but it's certainly not bad on my 5D Mark IV here. I've also mounted it on the 6D Mark II, feels fine there also. So just taking a look at what kind of comes with the lens itself, Tamron has, with the G2 lenses, has started to include hesitate to call it a case. It's not so much a case as a lens pouch, but it does have some padding on the bottom, and it's, if you're familiar at all with Canon's pouch for their L series lenses, you've basically got the idea of what Tamron is now included. I do want to also note that Tamron's newer pinch caps that are with their SP line really are my favorites amongst the various manufacturers right now. They just, the action just feels more precise. They just feel a little bit higher end in terms of quality when it comes to that. Something that is new here with the lens hood is that for the first time, Tamron has copied Canon with the actual locking mechanism that's on the lens hood. Now, I'm of maybe somewhat two minds on these. Now, if everyone goes to them and it becomes more standard, maybe it will become more intuitive for me as a part of the taking it off. But I find that if a lens hood just locks in good naturally, that an additional lock is not needed. But just note that that is now included, and if you've had issues with lens hoods coming loose in the past, then perhaps this will be something that you will celebrate. But while this is like most of Tamron's lens hoods, it does feel like things have been improved a little bit here. So just to note a couple of things regarding the manufacturing plants on this. So the hood itself is made in the Philippines, but there's not only the design in Japan there, but also I see that this particular lens was made in Japan as well. And so if that's important to you, just wanted to point that out. So as we look towards the front of the lens, we have got an 82mm front filter thread. Like other of the new SP series, this has got a flooring coating on the front to help with cleaning it, and also there is some fairly complex weather sealing that's a part of the lens design, which I'm of course very, very happy about, from the lens gasket to internal seals and coatings everywhere to make sure that everything stays nice and secure. Now, if you're just looking at it from the back, like a lot of lenses, if the lens is fully retracted, everything seems nice and sealed here. So if it is fully zoomed out to 70 millimeters, however, you can see inside the lens a fair bit, see circuit board and whatever. So of course, most of the time the lens is going to be mounted on a camera, and so you shouldn't have to worry about dust because of the seal that is there. But just note that there probably is some potential for getting dust and moisture, or at least dust inside. If you have the lens cap off or not mounted on the camera and you have it zoomed forward, there is some space for the intrusion of dust there. So that's just something to watch out with, not just with this lens, but with the vast majority of them. As you can see, all metal build here, as I've pointed out, it's a lightweight aluminum alloy, and then this is what Tamron calls the luminous gold accent, which, frankly, the whole overall look of the lens it just looks much, much more modern than what the lens that it's replacing does, and Tamron's new lens design is really quite good. They have also, got a little raised portion here with the two switches on here for the AF, MF, and of course there is full-time manual override. And then, of course, for the VC, vibration compensation. And it's worth noting on this that Tamron is claiming an industry best 5 stops of actual compensation for image sake, and so that is programming it for a particular mode. So if you use it in the tap-in and you do the actual capture priority mode, which focuses less on stabilizing the viewfinder and more on actually just stabilizing the captured image, you will actually get the best results out of this. But you can choose a few different modes of behavior, including one that is really designed more for video, and so that's also helpful with that. Distance window obviously is here. The actual zoom action is nice and smooth, and no issues there. It's a single barrel design, and so initially I found that the Sigma Art version, it was a little bit stiffer, the damping, but it loosened up quite a bit, and so I would say that the feel of these is actually quite similar. It's very, very smooth though, very well damped, and nothing to complain about there. One thing I do like about the Tamron design versus the Sigma, just on the physical level, is that there is a little bit more separation here between the two zoom and manual focus rings. And so I think that and also because of the ridge, it's actually on a different plane here. So there's a bit of a flare out to the zoom ring itself. And so that may help you to not have any issues with inadvertently hitting the focus ring when you're reaching for the zoom ring. There's not a lot of space in between, and of course the focus ring is still quite narrow, but the placement of it I think is a little bit better than that on the Sigma. So beyond that, SP badge here on the side, and just a kind of a quick look at some of the basic specs of the lens. It has a maximum reproduction ratio of 1:5 or 0.20 times, and so just a hair less than that of the Sigma and right on what the previous lens was. And you can focus down to 1.25 feet, and that's basically 38 centimeters as part of that. 9 rounded aperture blades is a part of here, and what I've seen with the SP series is that they do a pretty good job when they are stopped down of retaining a circular shape. And so, that's nice. In terms of the specifications here, the lens itself is about 3.5 inches around, or right under. It's 88.4 millimeters, and the lens itself is 4.4 inches long. That's right under 112 millimeters in length. So pretty much, standard length for most of these lenses outside of the Nikon version, which has a thinner, longer, more tapered type look to it. And so all in all, pretty much what I expected here. So as you can see, Tamron has done a great job in designing a modern, beautiful functional lens that has a pro-grade body that now is probably very close to the tops of the 24-70 category, with an all-metal body, a good weather sealing in it, and really great functionality. It's a much more polished effort than what the previous generation lens was, and in about a week and a half, I'm actually going to get in one of those lenses along with a second copy of the G2 to give you a comparison to the previous generation, and then it is my sincere hope to be able to bring back in a Sigma 24-70 OS art lens before I have to return them as well, and so I can compare them all for you. I'll be reporting back with a lot of extra information here about the image quality, which I'm about to start evaluating. I can already tell you that the autofocus is definitely snappier and quieter. The VC, vibration compensation, claims a league-leading 5 stops, and so I'm looking forward to continuing to use that. And so just in general, as I've noted, it is a more polished effort from Tamron, and I think when it comes to that, it competes very nicely with the new Sigma 24-70 art lens, which I was very impressed by when it came to the build, and so I'm looking ahead for great things from this lens. If you'll look in the description down below, you can find my ongoing image gallery, and I'll be shooting a lot with this lens over the next few weeks. I finally have gotten things starting to slow down as far as my new house project here that I've been spending a lot of time on. And so hopefully I'll have a little bit more time for photography and be able to pump out a little bit more content to you as well. If you haven't already, you can become one of my patrons at my Patreon account. You can follow me on social media. And if you haven't already, please click that subscribe button. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.